I know that you're aware of the documentary that is going to come out soon by Iron Butterfly Media, The Power We Hold, that profiles women who've had national security careers. And I'm in that documentary. Sue Gordon, Tish Long, so a whole bunch of women that are in that documentary. And I'm obviously all for it. But or as Julia would say, and my one concern or a concern I have is that I don't want, I hope that we don't get perceived as heroic
Huh.
because I think that you can't depend upon heroisms. I don't think that's a good solution
Ooh, because that's part of
for
like the great man model
force
kind of.
or great woman for
Yeah.
society. So your
Yeah.
reaction, Jen?
I, as somebody who's in the military or was in the military, and people still to this day say thank you for your service, it
Yes.
feels awkward to me because it's not about that. It was about my intrinsic motivation to
Yes.
do things that kept us safe and served. And so I think, I think that maybe that's where you're coming from a little bit is that you don't want to be, because now your life is out there and the things that you've held dear are now exposed. Because I know
Mhm.
the conversations you had were very, you pulled a lot of threads and you talked about a lot of really interesting and intense and sensitive things. And so it's like people may see you as heroic, but in reality, it was all from the core of who you are rather than for a
Right.
purpose or to be recognized.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It
But
looks
but
like,
wait,
go
the
ahead.
hero's journey, like I'm gonna Joseph Campbell this. The hero's journey, right? Is is not really about that sort of folk idea of hero as someone who's canonized or someone who's about their ego or whom other people revere but because of their ego. The hero's journey is really about going inside to the core innate motivation and greeting that and becoming aware of that and seeing the dark side and seeing
Hmm.
this is how I could fail, this is how I could fail myself and others, this is how I could not be authentic, and I'm going to work towards not that and move towards authentically expressing my inner motivation. That's the hero's journey because it's the real hero. In other words, it's a hero of a life. So
Hmm.
each person is, if they can feel satisfied about their life, the model is that they were the hero of their life story and that they were able to do that. But that is not the same thing. I think what you're objecting to is this sort of outward heroism, almost like being an influencer or something.
I, well, what I'll just speak for myself. Yes, that is part of what I'm objecting to. I'm also objecting to the idea that it's somebody else's responsibility to make things better. It's everyone's responsibility to make things better. And uh, you know, in the documentary, there just isn't enough time for everybody to talk about their beginnings or their childhood or how they were shaped. But however life treated us and whatever outcomes we had, our lives began. This sounds just stupid, arrogant to even say it this way, but we just had we all had humble beginnings. It's just so it's everyone's responsibility to make the world as to contribute in whatever small way they can, whatever way they can. And we all contribute in small ways. There are very few people that you can go, oh, now that was a medium-sized contribution, right? Jen.
Yeah, I think we go through phases in our life where our contributions, it's almost like a wave,
Yes.
where sometimes it's a great contribution to society, sometimes it's a great contribution to your family, or maybe
Right.
you're on the downswing because life is just really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to be able to give ourselves some grace for when we are in those hard swings. I had a hard swing where I had just started at my last company, and we had just spun out of Google. We were a brand new company out of Google, had all of this hoopla around us, and my mom got sick
Mm,
Oh,
in a different state.
mm,
And I didn't have a lot of help. So I was trying to raise two kids, split time with their dad, get back and forth to Wisconsin to take care of my mom, and end up, like putting her in assisted living and, all of the things, selling all her household goods, getting rid of, whatever it is, and a startup and a new company. And it was rough. It
yeah,
was rough. And there were times where I'm sure I was not good for my kids. I'm sure I was not pleasant with my mother, and I'm sure I was not helpful to my company. But, you dig yourself out of it, and away you go, and you learn from it, and you're better for it.
right. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, grace. Give yourself some grace. That's, I would say that even beyond self-awareness, giving yourself some grace or forgiving yourself for failing is a really important leadership skill.
Yes.